Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today we're going to be looking at the newly solved Zetsubou no Shima Zipline Cipher because it gives us some information not only about potentially DLC 3, but also about dragons in Call of Duty Zombies and in the Call of Duty Zombies storyline. It was cracked by DC Revolution Gaming, and I believe a little assistance was given by Certain Personio, so congratulations to both of you guys. DC Revolution Gaming, fantastic job. Certain Personio, fantastic job as usual. He's always doing fantastic work on these things. Without further ado, let's take a look at how exactly this was solved, the method used, and then we can take a look at the meaning behind the plaintext. So it's a rail fence cipher that was used here, and the setting up of the rail fence cipher, the number of rails and the offset that you need, is actually given to us on the list, capital T, capital L, the list, literally, on Zetsubou no Shima. It's a scrap of paper with information about several other ciphers on the map, and so for example the Mother Vignere cipher that we've solved with keyword mother, that Vignere cipher was actually cracked before we found this note, but then there have been others, like this one for example, that has been assisted by the knowledge that that note exists, and we can go, okay, it's got a 15.5 on there, so we need 15 rails with an offset of 5, for example, and that would give us our final output plaintext solved and ready to read. So that is the method that DC Revolution Gaming will have used, and Certain Personia as well, in assisting him. It's a rail fence cipher, and without further ado, let's take a look at the plaintext. Division 9, Project D update. To Group 935. The specimens have been manufactured to be asexual. We felt it was best to remove the primal urges of the sexes, as this will make them far easier to control. That being said, they are still extremely dangerous. You must have the mechanical control collars and proper frequencies set and applied when the specimens reach the juvenile stage. After seeing what they are capable of, your stalemate on the Eastern Front, with the Russians, will soon come to an end. It's quite a long message this, and there's a lot of really interesting info in here. It actually relates to multiple other ciphers that we've found across various other maps. For example, in DLC 1, in Der Eisendrache, I forgot the name of the map for a moment there, in Der Eisen, there is a cipher, or rather a code written out on the chalkboards around the map that I solved myself with Water KH, and from those chalkboards we have the following plaintext. Division 9 has completed the resurrection of the ancient beasts for your Eastern Front. We expect Group 935 to reciprocate the favour. So, clearly, there is some overlap between these two messages, and it very much looks like these ancient beasts that we've been wondering about for so long are indeed dragons. They're not zombies, they're not thrashers, they're not any other monsters from the Zombies universe, they're actually dragons. And these dragons supposedly have been A, made asexual to control their urges and make them easier to control, and B, they require collars in order to keep them under wraps and keep them doing the bidding of their masters, I guess, which in this case is going to be Group 935, who have this stalemate on the Eastern Front. It's pretty crazy. Just the fact that dragons are actually in the storyline now, that alone is nuts. It's bonkers. Who could have imagined, right? At the end of Moon, having played through the Black Ops 1 story arc, who could have imagined that they would blow up the Earth, and then, in a couple years' time, Jason Blundell would be introducing dragons into our storyline. It's pretty damn nuts. Now, on Zetsubou no Shima, there are dragon eggs, there are schematics of dragons, there's information there about dragons inside their eggs, about dragons after they've hatched and their wingspan and all that sort of things, and loads of other interesting info. So, that, straight away, gives us an idea of the fact that dragons are very important to Division 9. And then thanks to the cipher that I solved on Der Eisen, talking about the fact that Division 9 are the ones to complete the resurrection of the ancient beasts, it gives us quite a nice picture of what's gone on here. Division 9, experimenting with human and animal and plant biology, have managed to somehow resurrect dragons to serve their bidding. And what they do is they, in collaboration with Group 935, say, we're going to resurrect these dragons, we'll probably use them for our own purposes in some capacity, but specifically in this message we're going to relay the fact that we've resurrected them for your Eastern Front. Germany had an Eastern Front during World War II, and it was the Eastern Front where the fighting with the Russians was happening. Russia was a huge problem for Germany during the war, and Russia lost an unholy number of troops as well, a ridiculously large number. Russia really played a war of attrition in many ways, and just sent so many people into the fray and lost so many men. Really quite horrific stuff. Now, we know that DLC 3, most likely, is going to take place in Stalingrad. We know also that there has been a city on fire by a river mentioned, which presumably is Stalingrad. And now we're hearing that dragons are relevant not only in the capacity that there'll be little bits of dragon paraphernalia on the maps for you to find, like a drawing of a dragon that Samantha has in her room, or a dragon egg that seems to have hatched in Zetsubou, but now, in fact, they are integral to the story, right? And that's because if there's a city on fire by a river, could it have been set on fire by a dragon? Specifically, when those dragons have been sent to the Eastern Front to help the Germans fight back against the Russian surge from that very direction. The Battle of Stalingrad took place a few years before the events that are currently happening in this particular timeline, in this particular universe. So we can't say that this is going to be the Battle of Stalingrad that we know from real life, from real history. But we can say that Treyarch are more than likely to completely pull from those ideas and then mix them up with the use of dragons, the use of this collaboration between Division 9 and Group 935, the use of the fact that Groff has been floating over this city and he says, "Finally, I'm home." There's a good chance we'll be seeing Groff in DLC 3 as well. So clearly, bringing this all together, there are so many different threads that we can tie into one nice and concise knot here and say that dragons will undoubtedly be present in DLC 3 in some capacity. Whether it's just talked about, whether we can just hear the damn things, whether there's a dragon boss, whether we can somehow tame a dragon of our own, whether the sort of boss similar to Brutus, similar to the Margwa, similar to the Panzer, whether that's going to be a dragon on this map, who knows how it's going to manifest itself, but there will be dragons. That's quite a good little sort of catchphrase for the map, isn't it? DLC 3, there will be dragons. So not only do we have that info, right, we've also got the rest of the cipher to consider. It specifically says that you need mechanical control collars and proper frequencies set and applied when the specimens reach the juvenile stage. So, is it possible that in DLC 3, there's going to be some kind of mechanic where you can either break this mechanical collar off a dragon and set it free somehow? The fact that that has been included, in fact, the whole first real chunk of this message sort of suggests to me that there's got to be some deeper plot going on here. I don't feel like it would be of any use for them to be telling us that the dragons have been made asexual if that weren't something that we were then going to play with later down the line or learn more about or would be key to something or other happening. I feel like it would just be useless information otherwise, and when they're giving us ciphers that are so short and they have to cram in as much info as possible into them, it seems like it would be silly for them to have filler and then only a couple of interesting bits of info in there. So I do think that the fact that they've been manufactured to be asexual and that will remove the primal urges of the sexes will be important somehow, because if not, then Treyarch have just basically given us some dud information. And I don't think that's their style at all. So I'm sure that will be useful somehow or interesting somehow or will be played on somehow. But the mechanical control collars and proper frequencies set and applied are just interesting to me. I just think it's cool that there's some kind of exploration being done of exactly how these dragons sort of sit in the world, how they have to be controlled, what you have to do in order to make sure that they do your bidding, and that might give us information as players as to how we can sort of reverse engineer things a little bit and set those dragons free. Or maybe not set them free, but maybe take them out more easily if the dragons don't like us, which is definitely possible. Who knows if dragons are friendly creatures or not? Chances are there's going to be a dragon boss at some point. So, I've been MrRoflWaffles. Thanks for watching, guys. Congratulations to DC Revolution Gaming for solving this, like I've said. Thanks to certain Personio as well for his help on this, helping out DC Revolution Gaming, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video too. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.